Welcome back, guys, to a brand new video on Vex Override, the new game that everyone is hating on. And to be fair, it's kind of valid. There are some rule changes in here that are very egregious and that make me so happy that I'm no longer in Vex V5. So let's get into them. Starting out with just the field overview. So there are 20 match loads, 10 cups, 10 pins. And then there's 2 preload pins. So this is a lot of match loads, which means if you can't really get to the ones on the field, like if you can't tip those there on that weird angle, just match load them. Just match load them. That's my best advice from this, is just focus on your match loads first, because you can control how those orient themselves a lot better than anything on the field. So start with your match loads, work your way into using the field ones. Another big change is with the toggles. So as you can see here with SC4, specifically the B clause, toggle is not in contact with the robot or either lines. And that means, so it says here, a toggle is considered set to a color when it meets this criteria. So if a robot is touching the toggle, that means that the color, it doesn't matter what color it is, it doesn't matter what it is, no points will be taken away from it. That's huge. Let's say on the red side, or any side, that's red toggle, there's a lot of yellow pins, you're the last few seconds of the match, you're losing that end game, you're like, just go for it. You just got to go for it. And you just run straight back into the wall, touch the toggle, boom, toggle doesn't count. That is a huge match affecting thing. I feel like that's a very good strategy that teams need to take note of in this upcoming season. Our next change that's not really that big, but kind of expected, but just to take note of, is SG2, which is expansion. Horizontal expansion, that is. You can only do 24 by 24 inch, so it's just like last year, except actually 2 inches bigger than last year. This simply is just saying, when getting to your 50-inch vertical limit, you cannot go horizontally 24 inches sometimes. So for most teams, if you're doing a 4-bar lift or any kind of lift, that you just got to be able to have no horizontal expansion. Or not no horizontal expansion, but just limited. So my best advice for teams, be sure when you're expanding to that vertical, do something that doesn't take up a lot of space. I would go for cascade or linear slides. Those are going to be your best friends when it comes to not breaking the expansion limit, but also getting up fast. I think linear slides or cascade lifts are the way to go. All right, here's a big rule change that everyone was wondering about. What happens with descoring? So with descoring this year, it's just not allowed. You're not allowed to knock over any towers. You're not allowed to even take pins or cups out of an alliance scored. So if it is an alliance pin or scored in the alliance goal, you cannot remove it. This is huge. This means no descoring whatsoever. It means you just have to be strategic. Here's the thing, though. If a pin, so this is what my takeaway from this is. If they have a pin in a neutral goal and it's red standing up, you want to cover that up immediately. In fact, even if it's yellow standing up, you want to cover it. But you want to cover that up. Now, if you're scoring on a neutral goal, make sure your color is always facing down. That way they can not touch the pin, and they can't cover it up either and alter its point value in any way. Also, you can't touch alliance goals no matter what. You can't touch them. You can affect them. So just be wary about running around the field, because you can't mess with that. And then we have R1 inspection rules. This is probably the biggest change, or leading into the biggest change, which is subsystems 1, 2, and 3. Subsystem 1, anything to do with wheels, that's going to be your drivetrain. Subsystem 2 is just your battery and brain and anything powering it. Systems 3 is literally anything else trying to score, your intakes, your outtakes, everything, your lifts. But here's the big kicker, is when we get into what that means, which is in a later ruling. Subsystem 1, when it talks about the wattage limit, subsystem 1 cannot power subsystem 2 or any other subsystems like subsystem 3. No PTOs, none of that, which is very, very detrimental, and I think just goes against the idea of competition. It goes against the idea of what Vex is about. I think that this is probably the worst thing to happen in this entire game manual. I think, Vex, this is terrible. This is honestly the worst thing ever. Well, I may have spoke too soon, because here is the change that everyone is talking about. This is the rule change that everyone's talking about. There's a petition going around in this rule. It is R23, about certain parts being allowed, non-Vex parts being allowed. A, anodizing and painting or dyeing or changing the color of any legal Vex part is prohibited. This is ridiculous. Look, I'm just going to be brief about this. Painting and all that is to make your robot look cool. It's to make it more about y'all, and it's about to make it about your team. It's about to be personalized, and they're taking that away. They are taking away what really means to teams. If teams have painted the robot, like I've painted my robot before, here's a picture of that, none of those parts can be used next year. And I'm leaving, so all the people before me or after me can't use any of those parts, and I feel bad for them because now all those good parts can't be used, and especially for organizations who don't have money, this is a big hitter. This goes against the idea of creativity. This is really just why Vex? Why? Because it's not functional. It's not. It does not need to be changed, and there's just it's just horrible, and it just goes against our values. And I really hope the petition. I really hope that passes and this gets changed, because this is egregious. This is terrible, and I just can't believe Vex would actually do such a thing like this. Actually, I can because of the poly rule, but like this is ridiculous. And finally, we finish off with our last rule, which is the Vex pressure gauge required. R26 states that a pressure gauge must be required, and honestly, kind of valid. I don't have a really big problem with this rule. It's just kind of a rule that teams need to take note of, because just to be fully honest, there are a lot of teams, and I can say I've done this maybe a few times, that go over 100, and if you have a gauge, they can fully tell if you're over 100. So it's just going to be, I think that's what the purpose is if they can't read your gun, or it's harder, they can just look at your gauge before you start a match, and so it's a lot easier that way. Anyways, that's it for all these rules and the game manual. I know this video was a little bit longer, but there was a lot to talk about, a lot to complain about. I know I went on a little bit of ranting, but I think it's kind of valid. There's some terrible rules, but let's hope Vex changes them, and I'll have another video coming out soon about what I think the meta will be and what I think the strategies could be. Anyways, that's it for now. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more Vex content.